AI is everywhere and it's in your car as well. And now you probably think, well, how far can it go? And can it go on its own? And where will the developments go? We have an expert on the matter with us here today. Hello and welcome back by popular demand, George Pillari.
Nice to be here.
Thank you very much for coming back again. AI in autonomous cars. When we talk about autonomous cars, many people wonder, where are we? We hear that there is Waymo in San Francisco and is in a couple of other cities. Still, people say as soon as you have AI in other cars by other vendors, they always say you need to keep your eyes on the road, you need to keep your hands on the steering wheel. So, first question here, where are we at the moment with AI in cars in general?
Sure. If you just go back to the beginning or almost the beginning of electronic vehicles, even, right, where all this is happening, this was 25 years ago, where Elon Musk demoed a sample
Mm-hmm.
for the founders of Google, right, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And it didn't really work. It went like 10 miles an hour or something. And
Okay.
they still invested with them. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, we've come a long way where you have all these features now built into electric cars that can do things for you. Now, there's a couple of important terms to remember here that we're going to be learning about and hearing about for the rest of our lives. All right. It's
Mm-hmm.
human in the loop, human on the loop, and human out of the loop.
What
And
does that mean?
it's
Yeah.
exactly what it sounds like. Okay. When you're in the loop, when you're the human in the loop, right, the AI is you're controlling the AI, giving it direction. Like
Mm-hmm.
most of us use Claude and things like that. When you're human on the loop, you're letting the AI do the work and you're monitoring things. Think of the like autopilot on an aircraft,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's a human on the loop, right? You handed control over, but you can intervene.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
So this is
human out of
comparable to, for
the
example, something like Claude Cowork, where you say do everything, and as soon as Claude has a question, it says like, "Hey, what about this one? What should I do here?"
right,
Okay.
correct. Right. So this human in the loop, human on the loop, and now human out of the loop. Human out of the loop is where there's the most controversy. All right. And this is where the autonomous vehicles come in. Same thing for weapons in the military. All
Yes.
right. Do you turn over control, right, to an autonomous system? Because who's responsible when the autonomous car makes a mistake,
Yeah.
right? And it causes an accident. Who's
And
responsible? Is
also
it
let's face one situation. Someone has to program the AI. So let's say when the AI system knows that the accident can't be prevented, do you run into that group of pensioners or that group of younger people? So who wants to program this?
That's right. So we're going to run into really deep questions on ethics as these things proliferate, become mainstream. Now, with autonomous vehicles, we're starting to see, some signs of life, right? We're starting to see new cities being announced and even new countries, right? Every couple of weeks. You ask, how come it's taken so long, right? If you have a mousetrap, can't we just use it everywhere? All right. And that goes to another really important concept we're going to hear about again for the rest of our lives, okay, which is called edge cases. All
Hmm.
right. And an edge case is exactly what it sounds like. Remember, AI gets trained on tons and tons of data.
Yeah.
Okay. It just consumes data. Now, but how many times do you think the AI has seen a sunrise on February 29th? Right? Like
Hmm.
that's not something it sees a lot.
Yeah.
So it may not know what to do in that circumstance. If you go back, some of our more seasoned listeners here will remember the Y2K crisis, where everybody was concerned that what's going to happen when
I
the computers
remember.
don't know what to do, because we used to
I
store
was sitting there
TVs
as
in
well.
years,
Exactly. We were at the
right?
computer, three, two, one. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So, you have these edge cases which are extremely dangerous because you have the AI can't know everything. It only knows what it's been able to consume and learn. So the thing you hear about lately is where an autonomous vehicle just drives right into the middle of
Hmm.
of a crime scene or an
I remember
accident
it
scene.
was in a police standoff. I read the article about that. Yes.
Yes. So, you know, are we there yet? Sort of. I think in a controlled environment where, you're going to run that vehicle in a 10 block radius and you can train it on everything or most everything that you're going to see in that 10 block radius, it's pretty useful. But the example I like to use is sometimes the AI is way better than a human, right? Many
Mm.
times it's not. So here's a good one for you. The autonomous vehicle is moving along, and all of a sudden a bicycle rider jumps in front of the car. All right. If you're driving the car on your own, you're instinctively going to swerve left or you're going to swerve right
Yeah.
and hit your brakes. So if you go left, you're going into head-on traffic. If you go right, you're going to a crowded sidewalk of pedestrians. All right. So there's no good answer here.
Yeah.
And so what happens is the AI is programmed. This is done years ago, right? So the AI doesn't have to think. As a human, you're going to take, I don't know, half a second, some fraction, even if you're an incredible, you have incredible reflexes to process what's going on in front of you and then take an action. The AI doesn't need to process it. It knows what it saw and it's built into its programming. And in a millisecond or two, it does what it's programmed to do. And in this case, the programming is generally to continue the trajectory but minimize risk is the term they use. So don't swerve because you're going to create new problems that are unknowns. You have
Mm.
one known in front of you, that's a bicycle rider. Frankly, it was their fault for jumping in front of you. But so what they try to do is apply maximum braking pressure and minimize the impact. So imagine sitting around the conference room with the engineers 5 years ago, 10 years ago, before these things were programmed in, and you run through these scenarios.
Mm.
So they sit there, well, the best answer is to, cut your losses and not create new problems. And that's where the AI is really powerful. All right, really way more powerful than a human.
Yeah.
You want the AI making that decision. But, what if it's your neighbor on the bike? You
Mm.
know? So it's you run it again, this whole world of AI ethics is going to be a booming field for the
Mm.
next generation.
Absolutely. And of course, one question I need to have here, especially with autonomous cars, is there's one big player who needs to have a huge chunk taking the risk, and this is insurance companies. Because when we say we like to have this in place, if that player says no, no, we're not moving anywhere. So is there any kind of research going on how to work with these companies? Because when they at the end of the day say no to whatever we plan here, nothing's going to move forward.
That's a great question and not one we hear a lot. And I can give you some informed speculation on this. I think what's going on is the AV makers, autonomous vehicle makers, are subsidizing the insurance,
Hmm.
or they're eating it themselves. Okay, because these insurance is like AI, right?
Yeah.
They look at the pool. Hey, you're this age. Here's you're a non-smoker. They run all the
Hmm.
numbers on people in that cohort, and they tell you what your risk of death is
Yeah.
or your risk profile as a driver.
Yeah.
So I think in the background, the AV companies are the ones subsidizing or just eating all that risk. Maybe they have
Mm.
some stop loss coverage at a very high level because there's no data for these insurers to
Yeah.
underwrite. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Really
Thank
interesting
you.
topic. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
research that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. One more question I have. When we now say, because we now see, especially in London in the UK, we see Waymo cars going all over the place. And of course, people say, hey, it's great when you go around here and you measure every single square nanometer of the city. But here are the news. This is London. This city is going to, you drive around the block and you come around and it will have changed from there. We will have a construction site here, which is here today, there tomorrow. There will be probably people walking here a lot from Monday to Friday, not at all on Saturday and Sunday, other areas vice versa. So how good is AI at the moment from being pre-trained, which is great, but how great is AI so far in autonomous cars to deal with situations that cannot be pre-trained because they simply happen?
That's where the deadly problems arise. All right, when there has not been the training and it doesn't know what to do. Okay. And,
Hmm.
many times it's like a child, I like to say, who goes to the zoo and sees an enormous ape or
Yeah,
something, right? Or a lion. The first time they see it, wow, they
yeah,
don't know what to do. They know it may be dangerous just instinctually, but so the AI, that's the biggest hole. Okay. And that's why AVs have not proliferated with the kind of gusto we would have expected with the new technology.
mm,
Frankly, it's going to be easier to have autonomous planes than it is for cars. because you
Yeah.
can send up a cargo plane and it has a lot of room to roam,
Yeah.
and you can control it just same way you control, an RV. I'm sorry, an electronic, toy, right, with the
Mm.
controls. But you're going to see autonomous air flight, probably for cargo,
Yeah.
probably sooner than you see real mainstream AV usage.
Yeah, and also cargo planes take humans out of the equation because I know that even if you have the most perfect AI in a plane, you still need to convince people who book the ticket to go on there and say, look, there is no human steering this, but you're sitting in the back, and when something goes wrong,
Yeah.
well, we know where it ends. So with cargo, that might be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to mitigate the risk of the plane not crashing down, but probably this
Yeah.
will be because that would, of course, be a huge shift in how cargo in the air would work in general globally.
Yes. People don't realize this, and it might shock them, but in a typical 3-hour flight, the pilot only hand operates the airplane for 3 or 4 minutes. The
Mm,
rest of it's handed over to the autonomous systems.
mm,
Aviation's way, way down the path using AI for many years, but the pilot doesn't really fly the plane.
mm. Yeah.
Mm.
Excellent. So when our companies say, hey, this is a really good topic, so maybe we should actually get George in and hold a key now to our people, or maybe help our people in the future here. The final question I always have to ask, how can people reach out to you?
I'm at thecautionary.com is my newsletter, The Cautionary, and I publish weekly. And right now I'm on my, I don't know, about 3 or 4 months of weekly AI posts on things like autonomous vehicles and other topics.
Perfect. I think these are the perfect final words. You see, AI is here and it's here to stay, and we will keep track with how autonomous cars will show us the future. George Pillari, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.